Koinange Live here at Citizen Television. It is 30 minutes past the hour, and Jeff Koinange Live is powered by Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker exhibiting its eminence in electrifying quality and celebrating 200 years of blended Scotch excellence. Speaking of excellence, Defense Cabinet Secretary Dr. Monica Juma has been excellently sitting here patiently. We apologize for that, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We really appreciate your time because it's a very important subject. A lot of people, or critics, are saying there's an increasing role of the military in what they consider to be public civilian affairs. The recent event you attended yesterday, the president commissioning the Kenya Meat Commission, launching it under what we all believe is the Ministry of Defense. The KMC is now being run by the Ministry of Defense. Is that what it is now? Is that how it's panned out?
Jeff, there is nothing unique about this because the Constitution of this country anticipated this role for the Defense Forces. In Article 241B, we have the mandate to aid civil authorities as they pursue the national development goals of this country. So it is possible that we are tasked to undertake activities that contribute to national development, and this is one of the things that we are doing with the KMC, but it is not the only one. That is why we fly sorties to help with locust control. That is why we rescue Kenyans when there are floods. That is why we distribute food. That is why we provide logistics. So this somewhat focus on the KMC is rather reductionist. We are doing far more, and it is well within the Constitution of this republic.
Explain to me, what is the thinking behind the Department of Defense taking over KMC? What is the thinking? Like, you can turn it around, you'll be able to turn around what no civilian could do? Is that the thinking?
Well, not what we will do. It's what we have. We have actually tested it for the last 2 months. And I can tell you, it is rolling. It is rolling. And the aim is to grow the production in that strategic establishment. And yes, it has turned around, Jeff. We have all the systems in place
to turn KMC around.
That is why the president launched it. He was not launching a future enterprise. He launched a working production enterprise.
Okay, explain to me, there was a court order because the KMC, Kenya Meat Commission, falls under the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, as far as we were concerned. And then there was a court order. And now Department of Defense takes over. How do you work that? How does that come into play?
Well, first of all, the transfer of the Kenya Meat Commission to the Ministry of Defense was done statutorily. There was a directive, a guidance, through an executive order, as it should be, because the president has the prerogative to organize the government in a manner that helps him to deliver on his mandate. So this was done effectively 7th of September. Yes, somebody went to court, and the court then issued a judgment that asked us, actually they issued a judgment and upheld the judgment, giving us 90 days to regularize that transfer through public participation, because that was the claim, that we had not done any public participation. And that was on the 15th of February. We have undertaken a countrywide participatory process. We put it in the media. We have a full report, Jeff, that has actually demonstrated that we have explained the modality, how we are going to do this, and we are going to be collecting and receiving animals from every county that has livestock as its mainstay. In fact, as the president was launching this on Monday, we had the first wagon out of Laikipia that delivered the cattle to the KMC. So we are not talking about what we will do, it is what we've already done. So in short, we are in full compliance with those court orders.
Okay, if there is a change of government in the next general election, will this affect the running of institutions like the KMC?
Every time there is a new tenure, not just a change of government, even when there is a new tenure, and we have seen this with His Excellency President Uhuru, the President has the prerogative to reorganize government. There's nothing new. I mean, and this has happened. I know you know ministries that have had this and that department move from there and there. It is the prerogative of the chief executive to organize government in a manner that helps them to deliver on their mandate.
Okay, so I guess the obvious question would be, what took so long, or why now? Why now is the president, like you said, reorganizing and using the military? Why now?
Well, that's not new. It was done in 2013, and I suppose this is a question for His Excellency, not me. But once that reorganization was done and this responsibility was given to the MOD, we went down to work. And we understood that this was not one of those tasks where you failed. And so we put teams on the ground. They did this work within a very short period of time. And I can confirm that we are rolling production in the manner we had planned.
You know, for many years, herders would walk their cattle, cows, for hundreds of kilometers to get to KMC. And I think you mentioned it just a moment ago. Are you saying that KMC will be devolved going forward?
Well,
do you see it being devolved?
Well, it's not really, well, I don't know. It depends on the business plan that comes out, and the teams on the ground are working on a projection into the future. But the strategic direction and intent is to make sure that we reduce the cost of getting the farmers' livestock, their livestock into KMC when they are in good condition. Jeff, you'll probably know, if you moved a cow from Garissa to Nairobi, it takes days. By the time it gets there, even its body weight has gone down. It's a loss to the farmer, probably has had to deal with all manner of middlemen in between and so forth. And we are trying to solve that problem so that we can have the money go directly to the pocket of the farmer. And by the way, we are paying within 72 hours of delivery, as I speak to you.
3 days?
3 days, and that is on the upper limit.
Once upon a time, KMC was very profitable.
It should be.
Do you see it getting back to that?
Of course, it is going to be profitable. At this point, Jeff, we are already supplying all our military units. Starting on 1st of June, we are going to be doing all the security agencies. And then we get into strategic installations. By the end of this year, we should be dealing with hospitals, we should be dealing with some of the schools, and we are going to grow the quantum of production.
This is a complete change in what we perceive as military. We always thought, military is supposed to guard and protect us outside our borders.
Yes, and by the way, a large proportion of the workers at the KMC are not military. Because I think this is very important to indicate here. All the staff that was at KMC when we took over are still there. And what we say to them is that you have to understand the vision that we are coming to drive in this institution, and you have to be part of that vision or leave. It was that simple. And once you provide people the right leadership, the right guidance, then they work. So that's what is happening. So more than 3/4 of the workers at the KMC are civilians. And I think this is very important to point out, because this notion about militarization is rather misguided and cheeky. A lot of it being driven by the people who are benefiting from what we thought was a dying institution.
Well, look, the bottom line is the military gets involved and Kenyans suddenly fall in line. What is it about us? And maybe this is a difficult question. Do we have to be put in line, or have a couple of heads cracked, for lack of a better word, for us to fall in line? We have to follow strict orders. Is that what it is?
I'm not sure about Kenyans and strict lines, but I know how the military works. We have clear procedures, we have rules, and there are consequences for not following through. It is that simple.
All right, let's talk about Nairobi County, run by a military officer who is still in the military. How does that work?
Well, how does the secondment work? Nothing new. I mean, we have people seconded across government everywhere. In fact, in some cases, they second them from across the private sector. So nothing new, Jeff. So let's not play up. There's nothing new.
But people ask, who does General...
Listen, the military, the KDF, is a Kenyan institution. It is created to serve this country. It is the insurance for this country. So what is wrong with deploying those resources to aid in places where we are having a little bit of a challenge? And we all know that General Badi, when he came to Nairobi, we know the state of Nairobi, what it was like. And we know what he has been able to do with his teams from across various sectors. Healthcare, for example, water. We've not had any children going to hospital for, waterborne diseases, yeah? And suddenly, water which everybody was struggling with in the informal settlement is available and ready for the Kenyan people. So what is militarization about providing Kenyans with water, about making sure their hospitals function, about making sure there are footpaths? What is militarizing this?
Well, people wonder, who does General Badi report to? Does he report to DOD? Does he report to State House, Harambee House? It's just, who does he report to? That's what people wonder.
What do you mean? We all report somewhere. Everybody reports somewhere. I'm sure you report somewhere, Jeff.
Every day. So the general, does he report to the commander-in-chief? Is that what it is? Is that how?
The general has a mandate to run the Nairobi, certain aspects of the Nairobi County. You have seen him questioned and oversighted by the Parliament of the Nairobi County. So it functions like any other establishment of this kind. And yes, the president is interested in how the city works. So I am sure there is an engagement with the president from time to time. And that is as it should be. He engages with all the other people that are responsible for counties. So nothing unique about Nairobi. And yes, Badi is active, but he is deployed. And that provision is there within the public service of this republic. So again, nothing abnormal, really.
He actually told me on this bench once that as soon as his term is over, he's going back to the barracks. That's what he said.
Why not? Why not? When we deployed our troops, say for peace support operations, they work with communities, they provide services. They do so in Somalia. Yeah? They help communities, they do all sorts of things. That doesn't make them any less of troops, of military men. That's what they are trained to do.
But sometimes the military has a difficult time taking criticism. And General Badi, as great a job as he's done in certain areas, he's also getting criticized in other areas.
Well, who doesn't get criticisms? The most important thing is to find out what are the issues being raised and responding to those issues. Because running the sectors that is running within Nairobi City, the Nairobi City, they are complex issues. They are difficult, and he went there because they were not functioning. So it is bound to have all sorts of perspectives about whether they are being achieved in at the right speed, whether it is the right way. But the most important thing is to have mechanism to listen and to respond, which I think is doing very well.
At the end of the day, look, Nairobi being under, I guess, is the Department of Defense, or again, how does that fall on NMS?
No. NMS is not under the Department of Defense. It was created to take care of the transferred functions. That's what it does. It's not under the Ministry of Defense.
So after General
So we have loaned the city a competent officer who is performing brilliantly.
And after the competent officer is done with his duties, then what?
We will have him back. He belongs to the Air Force.
And what happens to Nairobi Metropolitan Services?
Well, somebody else takes over. We have many Kenyans, don't we? There are 50 million of us, Jeff.
We are, good point. It's just that a lot of us don't like to pay attention to, or take orders. And that's where I'm going with this, I guess, Dr. is, Kenyans don't like to take orders or don't like to be given orders. And this is it's a new dispensation, you must say.
I think there is another way of looking at it, that it helps if there's a clarity of vision. It helps if this can be communicated clearly to the teams that are supposed to deliver. And it helps very much if there are rules and procedures to be followed and consequences if people don't deliver. I think this helps. You know, so leadership matters, clarity of vision matters, but discipline and commitment is critical. And frankly, this is a great resource when it comes to the MOD.
When it comes to KMC and Nairobi Metropolitan Services, what else? Where else do we see the military engaging?
Well,
or Department of Defense?
But you know that we helped to rehabilitate the Thika Nanyuki rail, and that is going very well, opening up the central part of this country. We've been working together with the Kenya Railways and the NYS on the 217 kilometers railway line from Nakuru to Kisumu, ready to go. It should be commissioned just before Madaraka. We've been working on the Shipyard Limited because we believe that in order to optimize the opportunities provided in the maritime domain, we need to build the ship industry, and we don't have that on the Indian Ocean, as you probably know. But and so this is one of the other important infrastructural and I think strategic institutions that is going to contribute significantly to the aspirations of our country.
Yeah, you know, I guess the question a lot of people are asking right now is, what took so long? What took so long?
Listen, the resources are there. I think it's a matter of calling them up. And His Excellency has called us up, and we are delivering.
You're delivering indeed. Okay, Doctor, I want to take a quick break. Come back. It's been 10 years almost since Operation Lindanchi, Kenya's operation into Somalia. 10 years this coming October. Mm-hmm. What have we achieved? I want to ask you that. Have we achieved anything in those 10 years? And, you know, there's been a lot of critics. There's been a lot of people saying, you know, maybe we should have pulled out or we should pull out. What are your thoughts? And also, I want to know more about this shipyard you're talking about, building of shipyards.
Yes.
What is that?
You know, Kenyans don't believe in themselves. I mean, we are doing great things, Jeff. It's not just the shipyard. The president launched the operational vehicles and the engineering equipment on Friday.
I want to talk about that as well.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, it's amazing to see what the engineering corps is doing.
Wow. Again, what took so long? We'll find out. Let's take a break. Maybe we're just impatient.
I think so.
Yeah.
Let's
take a break. We're talking Dr. Monica Juma, Cabinet Secretary of Defense, is in the house. Let's talk about the good things that the military is doing. What are your thoughts? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLive. I'm here at Citizen Television Live with Dr. Monica Juma, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Defense. Dr. it's been 10 years since Operation Lindanchi. 10 long years. Take a moment. Explain to us, what has Operation Lindanchi achieved?
Well, it has achieved the security of this nation. I mean, anybody that, as you are saying, criticizing our engagement in Somalia, obviously has forgotten. In mid of 2010, you will probably remember an Al-Shabaab flag in the middle of this city, if you can remember. You will remember the abduction of aid workers, of teachers, you know. That is why we are in Somalia. And I keep saying this, that yes, it is to assist Somalia, but it is first of all to respond to the first part of our mandate, which is to defend and protect the sovereignty of this nation and its citizens. So we have achieved a lot to the extent that this country has continued to grow in a state of security.
Some people say 10 years is too long. I mean, any plans of pulling out, any plans of pulling our troops out?
Obviously, anybody who says that doesn't know about MONUSCO in the DR Congo or Cyprus, where we have had peacekeeping missions for decades. I mean, 10 years is a very short while when you're dealing with the kind of challenge that is with international terrorism. But one can understand the need for quick fixes, you know, and the desire for that. But we are dealing with a very complex and volatile situation across the border and within the region.
There are a lot of family members, military family members watching you right now, Dr.
Absolutely.
And they have their kin in Somalia.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you tell them?
I tell them, first of all, that we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the men and women in uniform and otherwise that are serving to defend this nation in Somalia. It's very difficult circumstance out there, and we cannot take for granted the sacrifice that they are making. And that is my message to them. Number two, that even for those that have paid the ultimate price, it will never be in vain. And that is the position of the MOD, that's the position of the Commander-in-Chief. And this country owes a huge debt of gratitude to each and every one of them, and to the families, to thank them for giving us these people, patriotic Kenyans that are loyal and committed to defend this nation.
Yeah, and in some parts of Somalia, Kenya Defense Forces have been attacked endlessly. Remember the attack in El Ade, the camp, and countless lives lost. By the way, do we know the casualty numbers right now from the war in Somalia? Do we know?
Listen, Jeff, even one casualty is one too many. So this is not about numbers. This is not about numbers. This is about securing this nation. So every time I hear this question, it's as if it was one person, it would be less tragic. It is not.
Do you see us staying in Somalia? And you say, 10 years is a short time, but do you see us being in Somalia for the long term?
Well, that is not my decision to make. I mean, I'm sure you know that the entry into Somalia was sanctioned by the parliament of this country, and there are lots of discussions even beyond this country. It was part of our contribution to peace support operations. It was sanctioned at IGAD level. It was sanctioned at the AU. It was sanctioned by the UN Security Council. So because we are a part of the international community, we have a responsibility to contribute to international peace and security. And that is the way our presence in Somalia must be viewed. I mean, Operation Linda Inji was a very, very short-term operation, actually. And it was between October and February, to be precise, So this is a call, and because we are a responsible member of the humanity, we have to contribute in Somalia, even more because it's our neighbor, as we have done in Eritrea, in Sahrawi, in Yugoslavia, in Namibia, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone. Because sometimes when you look at Somalia, we kind of forget. This is not the only place. We've been to East Timor, Jeff. We've been to 40 peace support operations around the world since 1963.
But Somalia seems so dangerous. And sometimes on social media, you see captured KDF soldiers on social media. What do we do to ensure their safety?
Well, we do everything every day, okay? And because that's part of what we do. You do not deploy unless you have a plan of protection, Jeff, So this is really an operational detail. And it gives us great grief for any of our soldiers to suffer any of those circumstances. But I can tell you, we are seized of every one of them.
Would you say, overall, would you say it's been successful? Operation
It has been, of course. And anyway, if you talk to everybody, even the mandating authority, they will tell you the entry of KDF into the Somali theater was a game changer. It was a game changer. It has provided huge lessons, operational lessons, even for other defense forces in other countries. So we have helped to liberate huge swaths of territory in Somalia. And we continue to support that mission because it has the potential of securing the Republic of Kenya.
But
bottom line.
Yeah, I was about to say, bottom line, mission still not accomplished.
Mission progressing well, Jeff.
That sounds very military, that time.
It's progressing well.
And if it wasn't for Operation Linda Inchi?
What do you mean if it wasn't?
If it wasn't there? If it didn't start at all?
Why would we speculate on something that sits at the heart of the military? We are created because of Kenya to defend and protect this republic. So Linda Inchi was an imperative. It was an imperative.
But they still say Somalia is still a basket case. I mean, since 1991.
Well,
30 years.
Well, and that is why you have to engage so that you can help Somalia turn the corner. We would be huge beneficiaries of a stable, peaceful Somalia able to secure itself and its neighborhood. Kenya would be the first huge beneficiary.
So again, mission, what did you say? Mission still progressing?
It is progressing well.
All right. Let me take another break, come back. Let's talk about this shipyard and the blue economy. What is it that, I memean, is it about time that we started utilizing, because our blue economy is so underutilized? Will the military help? Will the Department of Defense help?
Jeff, I think for a long time, Kenya and many other African countries have been sea blind.
Sea blind.
Completely.
But then the blind will see then at some point.
Well, yes, of course. And we have seen.
I like that. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. JKLive takes a quick break. We'll be back with your questions and comments as well on the magic wall when we come back. Jeff Koinange Live. We'll be back. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live. We are live with the highest ranking civilian in the Department of Defense. That's right, Dr. Monica Juma is the Cabinet Secretary for Defense. And you know, I was just talking during the break, and let's say you are the highest ranking civilian in the ministry. I mean, when it comes to rank, they report to you. There's a chain of command.
That is constituted in the framework of law of this country. As a democracy, yeah, there is a civil oversight of the uniformed forces. And it's not just the KDF, even the police.
But we forget so easily.
We forget because we're very reductionist, because we are chasing a certain narrative. That's the problem. We report to Parliament. You know, we appropriate our budget via the Parliament. We answer parliamentary questions. You know, we advise the President from both the operational side, which would be done by the CDF, but in terms of policy and strategy and implementation and oversight, we do that. That is why there is a civilian component in the MOD.
We forget so easily. The National Defense College is about to be upgraded. What is that about? What's happening?
Well, tomorrow we are going to be receiving a charter that upgrades, that creates the National Defense University of Kenya. And so we'll be joining the family of very few strategic universities around the world that focus on strategy and security studies. So I am delighted to be part of that ceremony tomorrow, which will be presided over by His Excellency the President.
And it's a fully fledged university now. It's going to be.
It is going to be, Jeff. It is going to be.
So no more bringing so-called experts here who...
Well, we can bring the experts, but within the framework of the university, you know. But what we won't do is to continue sending our officers, you know, abroad. It is expensive. It takes time, and so forth. So instead, we are going to be part of that ecosystem. And in fact, the NDU is adding to a family of training institutions that are sitting in the MOD that are really critical, whether it is the International Peace Training Center for Peace Support Operations, whether it's the Humanitarian School that deals with counter-IEDs, whether it is the Civil Aviation Center of Excellence that we've just started. And so there is a big ecosystem, whether it is the War College, or, you know, or the military college in Lanet. So we have a whole set of centers of excellence, globally accredited, high standards, that the NDU is going to take as part of the colleges that form the National Defense University.
And this is going to have ripple effects across the region, obviously.
Across the world, Jeff. This is not about the region, this is global.
You know, we keep asking the question, what took us so long? What took us so long? Okay, so gearing towards Madaraka Day, which is about, what, in 5 days' time?
Correct.
There are major plans going on,
yes,
including the shipyard that you were talking about earlier on.
Absolutely.
Go on.
Jeff. And what better time to do this? I mean, if you think about the significance of Madaraka, about self-rule, about, you know, doing things for yourself, taking the reins and determining your destiny, there could not be a better time to launch some of these very strategic and important institutions, like the shipyard. We were just talking earlier on about the blue economy, and I was saying we've been, for a large part, sea blind, not really seeing the value of our waters, whether it's inland waters, whether it's rivers, whether it's our Indian Ocean and so forth, and the potential that this can bring to improving the lives of people, but also contributing to the national development of this country. Now, critical among this is the ability to build ships, to maintain them, to repair them. You can imagine the cost. You can imagine the technology transfer in terms of job creation. So it sits within the pillar of the manufacturing pillar, you know. But also we are going to be servicing the entire region. It means in the Lake Victoria, we are going to resuscitate that entire trade infrastructure across the East African region, which sits very well with the East African Integration Project. So, we have already tested this with MV Uhuru, as you probably know. MV Uhuru is plying that route now between Kisumu and Port Bell on a regular basis, and really conveying a lot of cargo both ways, you know. So this has made it has proven the value of what this blue economy can do for us. So yes, we are going to be launching the shipyard limited out of Kisumu, because there's going to be a platform there, as there will be a platform in Mutongwe, which will begin the first major refitting of one of our Navy ships in June of this year.
For the longest time, we always thought the military should be confined to the barracks, but, you know, we were wrong.
Listen, the military is a capsule of competencies. You know, I think that's the best way to put it. We have an engineering core that we are expanding that has all manner of technical competencies. We also do that, have that in the Navy, and that is why it was so easy for us to resuscitate MV Uhuru, for example. It was a team of engineers out of the Navy and our engineering corps. So I think it is important to think about it as it has diverse sets of competencies that have been brought together and provided a doctrine of delivering, you know. So we are not just fighting machines. We do that, but we do much more than that.
Yeah. And speaking of much more, the manufacturing pillar.
Yes.
You were talking about earlier on.
Yes.
Tell us about that as well.
Well, you know, we have a food processing factory out of Gilgil, which we are scaling up so that we can provide for our troops, whether they are in peacetime location or in theaters, as in Somalia. Now, you will know this is very important because food becomes a very risk factor in a situation like this. So you want to secure both the quality of the food, but its safety. So we are doing this food processing, we're doing vegetables, we are doing fruits, so that we can keep the nutritional value in the right health status for our troops and other people. And this was part of the logic of the KMC, frankly. We are the major stakeholders in terms of customers of the KMC, and it gives me a good rest when I know that the food that the troops are going to be eating is safe, healthy, and of high nutritional value.
You know, there's a lot of talk about the modernization of the KDF as you modernize. This is the Defense Forces in general. I particularly remember the Air Force when we were growing up, and the planes that were being flown during national events, the
Yes.
F-5s.
Yes.
It was always the F-5s. Are we ever going to move from F-5 to something else if we're modernizing?
Of course we will, and even as we are doing the F-5s, there's still modernization in them. Doesn't mean that you have to throw them away, you know, and a lot of work is happening in our workshops and in our engineering and in our R&D, the research and development out of the DefTech, you know, the Defense Technical College. So there's a lot of work to improve on the performance and functionality of all these machines. They are not sitting there with the specifications of when you used to see them, Jeff.
I can see them on the screen right now. You know, we're used to this on Madaraka Day, Jamhuri Day. That's all we see is F-5 screaming in the skies, and that's about it.
Do you not love them?
Oh, we love them. Oh, still love them.
They do stuff. And it's not just about Madaraka Day, Jeff. It's a lot of the cover for our troops whenever they are operating, particularly in Somalia for the F-5s. But we are also having lifting capabilities and things like that that support the logistics of our troops. Because it's very important that they are able to operate in the current circumstances in terms of just the dynamics and the risks that they're exposed to.
Yeah. But do they provide the kind of protection and the cover that you're talking
Absolutely.
about?
Absolutely.
Are they modernized enough, or do we have that?
Well, first of all, modernization is an ongoing process. I mean, there is no end state for modernization. Why? Because you keep assessing the needs on the ground, the needs in the theater, and you modernize, you improve your systems to respond to those needs, you know. So modernization will not have an end state, especially if you want, as we do, to keep a state of readiness and a sharpness in terms of the versatility of the troops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, how do we rate, how do we rank in the region, on the continent?
Very well, Jeff. I mean, you can go to any defense index. We rate highly, and we are absolutely respected as a profession. You probably know that we are going to be deploying in MONUSCO as one of the 4 quick reaction force teams, you know, the others being out of Tanzania, South Africa, and I think one of the Southeast Asia countries. You don't deploy in that kind of an environment if you don't have those competencies. And they are assessed by internationally by the United Nations. So we rank as one of the best militaries actually globally. And
our reputation?
Very good, Jeff. Very good. I mean, we have offered, you will know, commanders across all terrains, and they have performed extremely well. Only yesterday, one Major, Nyaboke, was named for the award of the Military Gender Soldier of the Year 2020. So that speaks to the level of proficiency that we have within the KDF.
Oh.
We are one among the tops, Jeff.
We are.
And Kenyans should be very, very proud.
And you're not just saying that because you're cabinet secretary. You actually feel this.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Because you have to compare yourself with the best. Yes. And that is why, I mean, all you need to do is to look at where we have been and what we've done. The transitioning of Namibia, you know, the leading of the teams in Sierra Leone or Liberia, you know, in Yugoslavia, you know, I mean, it is there. It's not hidden. So if you're really interested to find out how we perform, you know, read around. It's there.
You know, it's funny you say that. I remember General Daniel Opande in Liberia. I remember I was with him on the ground. I mean, I met him. General Lazarus Sombeo.
Absolutely.
I mean,
with South Sudan.
In South Sudan.
Absolutely.
Got some legends who have served.
We have many legends.
So many legends. Absolutely. Okay. Let's go to the magic wall. And there are lots of tweets. Enoch Kilile says, oh my. Honorable CS says it as it is. The issue of militarization of this and that is neither here nor there. Jeff, what Kenyans want is a system that provides solutions to their problems for as long as it is within the rule of law.
Correct. I agree.
So you think when people are saying you're militarizing things, they're being a little cheeky, they're being a little, it's unfair?
We are delivering services to Kenya. And that is what we are mandated to do.
And that's it. Mr. Julius says, in 2016, the government announced that it'll construct a 700-kilometer long security wall along the northeastern border with Somalia as part of a broader national security plan to curb cross-border terror attacks by Al-Shabaab. What's the progress?
Well, we are making progress, not as fast as we would like. And by the way, this was never supposed to be a wall. It is not a wall. It was not intended to be a wall. The idea is to create a border management system that enables us to determine who is in and out of our territory. Because that border has, since history, been a porous, long border, and it has been the point of vulnerability for attacks to Kenya.
So it's the ability to know who's coming in?
Absolutely. So part of the infrastructure that is being created is entry points, entry border points that are manned, you know, so that you can also control the movement of goods, so that you can do taxation, so that you can control contraband. Jeff, our biggest problem with contraband comes through that frontier.
That porous border?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes. And it has ramification for the health of Kenyans, because if you have goods that are contaminated, you know, they end up in the food chain. So it has a domino negative effect. So this is very important that we have a border management system that enables us to figure out who is in and who is out.
And that border management system is everything from drones to CCTV,
Everything
biometrics, all that.
And it is not just KDF, as a matter of fact. It is really a multi-agency where you have all sorts of agencies of government, immigration, customs, mention it, all of them, police, and so forth. Yeah, trade and so forth. So it's not really a KDF, but it is an issue around managing the integrity of your territory.
And that will happen. I mean, the 700 kilometers,
yes,
that will be managed.
Yes, it will.
Julius Wandenya says, forces recruitment process currently is full of lots of negative energy with high allegations of bribery, favoritism, and dominance by certain people. It is killing patriotism. What is the CS doing about that?
Well, you know, I am glad he says allegations. What does he say there? Because that is what it is. And what we have a system that can detect a lot of, if there are any problems, and we deal with it. Actually, any person within the MOD that was alleged to have involved themselves with these malpractices has been processed already, Jeff. But there is the civilian side. And if you fall prey, because you're not listening to the advisory, you fall prey to middlemen, to con men or con women, whatever the case might be, you have a responsibility. You have a civic responsibility to act after verification. Before the last recruitment, Jeff, for 30 days, we bought out space to explain that process to all Kenyans every day, for 30 running days. So there should not be any Kenyan who's saying they paid off to get recruited. There should not be. And if anybody, and this is what we've said, if you have any evidence of paying or being paid, please bring it forth, because we are happy to prosecute that allegation.
And yet we still fall prey to this every
and that's a big problem. And I think people have to be responsible. You know, bribery takes two. It takes two to tangle, you know, and you are just as guilty as the person receiving the bribe. So you have a responsibility as a citizen of this country to be corruption-free. It's your responsibility.
Good point, good point. Mercy Carey says, is there a program that is supporting the wives and children of the widows and widowers? Does DOD have a program?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And in fact, I have to say, a couple of weeks ago, there was the launch of the Military Wives Association, which adds to the MOD program. We pay very close attention to the families of those that have had tragic encounter operationally. We pay very close attention. I personally visit with all those families every time I am in the field. Okay.
Brian KK says, please ask the CS, DOD, why they no longer consider NYS as a reserve of KDF, because going to recruitment twice and getting lucky twice after doing your course is a charm.
Well, as a matter of fact, we don't discriminate, you know.
If you've been in NYS?
Yeah, we don't discriminate, and I see the point in terms of the NYS has been processed to a certain level, and we take that cognizance. And so I would encourage him to engage with the recruitment process. They would not be left out because they are NYS at all.
Simon Wandera says, military never disappoint. They know what it takes to be a Kenyan. If some entities fail to deliver, they show and remind us that Kenya is on the move. Poor leadership and corruption cannot hinder our destiny to be a superpower nation. Congratulations, KDF.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you on their behalf.
Okay, the elephant in the room. Everybody was asking this question. And they're asking me, how do I ask the CS this question?
Which one?
That you're looking so good. You've lost so much weight. That's the question. What did you do? What's happened?
Jeff, I am in MOD. You have to look like this. It's one of the conditions. But more seriously, I think it's very important that you apportion yourself some love and you just work on yourself. That's all. There's no magic. Anybody who wants to feel and look good, they have to conference with themselves.
Look at that. And you have conference clearly with yourself.
I have.
And you're in a happy space.
I am good.
Nice. Well done,
Yeah,
Dr. Good to see you. Good to see you. And congratulations. Happy Madaraka Day in advance.
Thank you very much. For me, this is really a badge of honor for not just myself as the CS, but for the MOD to be able to have tasking that we deliver on in time. I think it just boosts our morale and reaffirms the reason of our existence. So it's really a badge of honor that I share with my entire staff, starting with the CDF and the rest of the commanders and all the other people that are dealing with this. You probably know, Jeff, that we are even running the COVID command center. You know, we are heading it. It's multi-agency. So because this is a national situation that calls for directed leadership, we don't have a problem with just providing that leadership. So it's a badge of honor, and I am very proud to be able to serve.
Yeah. And the Kenyans who are skeptical, and those of us who, are always quick to judge, for lack of a better word. What do you tell them about the military, about Department of Defense going forward? What do you tell those skeptics? Well,
first of all, I think there's nothing wrong with Kenyans reflecting on the military or any other institution for that matter. I don't think there's anything wrong, and that is the promise of democracy. So I guess that's a democratic privilege that we have as a country, and which I think we should all be grateful for. But I just want to assure every Kenyan and everybody that is watching, we have a national asset that is admirable and that is really putting its foot forward for the service of this nation.
Absolutely. We salute you and Kenya Defense Forces for that. Madam
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me tonight.
It. Great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, and thank you for watching, folks. It's been great. Keep that feedback coming at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag JKLive. And by the way, JKLive is powered by Johnny Walker. I keep saying this Johnny Walker thing, right?
Where is he?
Thirsty. Johnny Walker, exhibiting eminence in electrifying quality and celebrating 200 years of blended Scotch excellence.